What is up, everyone? Let's watch the video.
Let's see how much money my Steam game made.
Exactly. Okay. Okay. What is up, everyone? It's your girl JJ Beats. I'm here. We are live. We're gonna be reacting to some videos with y'all. That's why we had the live chat. As you can tell, it's just me right now. Lol. Anywho, yeah, that was the introduction. I don't know. I'm flopping so hard. Wait. How much he make? In 1 week, dang, $4,000 in 1 week ain't bad though. Like low key, 10,000 wish list though. That's kind of good though. First, okay. Ooh, 3,000 impressions. Yo, what's this animation though? Yo, why you going so hard though? That's crazy. This intro's insane, chat. Like what? Better than what I did.
So those of you that are still around after those numbers have been shown, let us talk more about Merchant 64 and maybe how I marketed the game.
All about the marketing. You know what's insane though? He already gave the answer, and people are still willing to watch the video. Like me. So let's watch the video.
So I had this idea about 2 years ago, and what it is it's just a Nintendo 64 inspired game where you travel around buying goods at low prices and selling them at high prices. Very simple concept, heavily inspired by Harvest Moon and the game Dope Wars, if you can believe it. Now, I don't recall where the idea came from specifically, but I believe it was just while I was working on one of my projects, or a project, I sort of got the idea that I felt was easy to code, or easier to code for me, and would be fairly fun. And
easy to code,
you know,
okay.
it's a number go up style game, and I think those are typically more addicting for the amount of effort you have to put in as like a coder or a designer for them.
What is he doing?
Like I said, it's a Nintendo 64 era game with a huge emphasis on.
What was the name of the game again? I already forgot. But yeah, his marketing. Yeah, like I think these styles already like nostalgic enough where people are like, "Oh my goodness, I should check it out." What's the price tag though? That's a real question. That's why I was trying to look for the game. Which game? This game. What is it called? Merchant 64. Wow, I already forgot.
Harvest Moon.
It was
I didn't go
Merchant
with the
64.
pre-rendered sprites that the game used for all the animations and the characters, but I did go with like their UI. I kind of just copied it completely. I'm bad at UI and I'm bad at designing it. I felt that this would hit the tone that I wanted, so I just kind of referenced it.
I mean, I feel like it will also bring like a session aside, like, oh my god, this looks like Harvest Moon. I gotta play, which is like, you know, it's either a hit or a miss, but like, it is what it is. Also, I think it's kind of cool that he made what he made in a week, only a week. That's insane. Also, you guys could buy my game for free on itch.io. Color your choice if you like visual novels.
And used a lot of the elements that it used.
Stardew Valley is this due to Harvest Moon? Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I think when he like straight up said copy, that's what people be like. It's just a copy. It's just a clone. But like, you know, some things need inspiration.
Just to like speed up my process and to help me learn faster, honestly. So the marketing kind of started
$7, chat.
with the actual idea. I didn't necessarily think of, oh, this would do great in the market, this would do great numbers, but just the core, what it is, I felt would work well, specifically for a Steam audience. So a number go up style game, a simulation style game, a job centric style game, those are fairly popular right now. So I felt, hey, these things are easy to program, a lot easier than action or platforming. I don't have to design a world, I don't have to design an environment. I can just kind of make these systems and they can kind of take themselves further. So
yes. Oh, you looked at it too? You're looking at it too? Yeah, no, I'm looking at it. It's a mixed ratings too. But like he made some bag out of it already. And like how many reviews it got? 221. It does have mixed reviews. But okay, hold up. Let me look at one of these reviews. Okay. Would recommend to my Vtuber for punishment. This game is brutal. The loop in slaying began running me down with psychic damage. As much as I wanted to enjoy the game, the charge rapidly wore off. I will be haunted tonight as I sleep. And an endless background music as I search in the back rooms of the forest looking for junk. Bruh. This clicker type game seems needlessly difficult and grinding for a while. I would expect would be a 2 hour one shot. Would not recommend unless you like to struggle. I mean, it's just not for you, my dude. And also you could just refund the game. What's funny is some people like to leave a negative review when they only have like less than an hour. It's like, you could just refund the game. Like, I feel like they think they're giving good criticism, and good criticism is fine and whatnot. But okay, first of all, it's like would recommend to my favorite VTuber for punishment. So it's like, okay, what the turd? Like, how? What? And then at the very end, you're like, oh, it's too difficult. It's just like, bro, for an indie person, it's like, why on earth are you being this insanely difficult, right? But then when it's something like, ooh, I love using this example, like Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, where the graphics are not even done properly, and there's a lot of lag. People are like, I don't care. It's still my best game of the year. Oh my goodness, you guys get me triggered with that game. Like, I low key have trauma with that game. I'm not even gonna finna lie if I'm using the word triggered. But what I'm saying is like people go so hard on indie developers, and then when it comes to like big time developers, they're like, it's alright. It's alright. I'm like, bruh.
These systems, and I think you could say that is a marketing decision because I felt this would be a fairly appealing kind of genre to utilize. And then the art is similar. I know firsthand there is a want for these old retro style graphics that people grew up with. I felt if I could make
Okay,
it.
here's an actual valid or at least a review that would make sense to give, right? I assume the issue is that it doesn't have too much content, but considering the yeah, it's a $7 game for one. So let's keep that in mind, chat. Like you guys are asking for all this content for a $7 game. It's like how is this person, this one person, gonna make all this content? And even if they did, all the hours they put in and they don't even know if it would be worthwhile. So it's like just think or just really think about that how much you're demanding. But then you have like AAA titles or something like that, and like, oh, it's fine. So another one which I feel like is a bit more of an actual review. It's a nice little game. It's cute, and honestly I really like the simplicity of selling items and buying them cheap. However, there's nothing more to it, which is the same. It's a short content wise and only lengthens if you sleep on the street. And it seems like thieves will steal around 20% of whatever you have early on. And it could be bog you down until you unlock the first backpack for 300. Which while junk sells for 2 while only being able to hold 20 initially, it's a slow burn that probably will pay off. But it definitely feels empty. With the same recycled animation for everyone. No one really being live in town, you start off. However, my biggest deal breaker with the game is that there's no confirmation for sleeping on the mattress. So if you scavenge a burial near the mattress, there's a chance you might activate both and go to sleep, missing out a huge part if you're unlucky. So okay, I feel like that's more of a valid criticism than this is something I'll put on a VTuber punishment wheel, which is like, what kind of review is that? Um, so like and then some people gave it a thumbs up, but will say mixed. But I like as someone who has to develop games and stuff, I think it's kind of insane when people be like a 0 out of 5, too much water or something like that. But then you have like AAA titles where you're so lenient on because you know the brand, and I think that's one of my biggest pet peeves. Is just like how much you really expect from indie developers versus how much they can actually deliver.
Game that evoked the Nintendo 64 style, I think that would do fairly well to immediately get attention on it and perhaps boost it, further than it would go if it had, like pixel art or realistic graphics. It's just a little more interesting, a little more niche, but it's a strong niche. And then also falling into cozy games or wholesome games. This is an idea that I've had for a while and something that's kind of been aware of, and it's the fact that cozy gamers, wholesome gamers, they're very forgiving with the amount of content and gameplay experiences that are in the game, so long as it looks really nice.
Is this his
and it
first
has
game?
a good vibe.
I think there's other games.
This is
He
something I
has
think
a
you see a lot of. I think
a
people
bit
make
of
videos on
games.
how gameplay tends to.
Why did cozy games sink, bruh? Which is, it's understandable because if you get like you're probably not gonna make money unless you really know the ins and outs of marketing. But like my problem with these reviews is that some of these people give a review with 0.1 hours on record or 0.2, which means it's like 6 to 12 minutes they played the game for, right? And it's just like, bro, at that point, just return the game and get your money back because, bro, how are you actually gonna review the game? And what? Like, it's one thing to review a game like online or something. Um, and people be like, "Oh, I hate this game." That's fine. But when you review bomb it on Steam or something, I feel like that just messes it up a lot more, which is why I do not understand why people be like that. But that's just how some people are. So, yeah. Or luck if a company knows you. Yeah, if a company, but how many people the whole point of indie gaming and making indie games is so you don't have to be around a company, so they tell you what you can and cannot do. That's the reason why a lot of people choose indie gaming.
Suffer in this genre, so long as it looks good. And I felt that for someone who's not very good at coding and not very great at design, that this could be an easier avenue for me to walk. So it kind of has like these three elements: being a simulation game that tends to do well on Steam, an art style that I think stands out pretty well and is up and coming, and the cozy angle where that's also like a subgenre that gets a lot of attention. It feels kind of like.
So a lot of people are like, "Oh, I love the style." A lot of people do agree that the style is what makes it sell, which is judging a book by its cover, by the way. Which is people like, it's not about style, it's about substance. Mind you, if it was the reverse, no one would even give this game a time of day. Like when Chuck Fish noticed concert in a Steam event for like games in development in 2012. I don't know what that even means. So, but yeah, the style selling, which is why he's making money. But at the same time, there's so many negative reviews, so it's like, I don't know.
Horror in that sense, where the games can be smaller and less developed mechanically, and they still do fairly well.
Here's how I got my team to use Monday Sales CRM and actually like it.
Oh, okay.
Let me start by saying it's so easy to use that I won them over right away. Onboarding was seamless.
How many? Can you tell how many copies it sold this game?
So to move on to what people would actually consider marketing, being like advertisements and outreach and stuff like that, what did I do for this project for that? Now there is one very large hedgehog-shaped object that is looming over all of this that if you follow me, you are completely aware of. I will hold off on talking about that until after this stuff. It has a role to play 100%. So my predominant advertising stuff was just posting on a few social medias, mostly Twitter, a bit of Blue Sky, a little bit of Reddit, and I posted some of the trailers and stuff on YouTube. I didn't really do shorts and stuff.
So YouTube makes sense. Blue Sky, I don't know how good Blue Sky is, but you can see that he got almost 1,000 likes. Let's just say 750. Twitter got a lot of traction, a decent amount. He got 2.6. The announcement indie games upcoming did not get so much traction.
And I posted some of the trailers and stuff on YouTube. I didn't.
And this trailer announcement got a decent amount of views.
Really do shorts and stuff, or small form content, anything like that. I would just maybe put the trailer around. But mostly focusing on Twitter and Blue Sky, because that's essentially where I have the most following, and where I feel I can make the sort of content that works on those sites a little bit better than the other sites. The main thing I did was post trailers and just a little bit of gameplay. Sometimes I would ask questions. I feel questions will invite comments and engagement a lot more than other types of content. So that's something that I think I utilized a little bit. But truly, almost all of the attention came from the trailers. So these trailers, I kind of broke the rules of what you should be doing as an indie dev. But it makes sense when you know that I'm mostly on Twitter and making animations on Twitter. Essentially, I just had like a cinematic of the vibe of what the game should be, and then I paste a little bit of gameplay at the end, and then a call to action. Now, when you hear people talk about indie devs and indie dev trailers, especially stuff for Steam or storefronts, the thing you'll hear the most is like, get them seeing gameplay first, because they really don't give a shit about the vibes or what it looks like. So I would say to follow that.
Even if they made it sold 1,000 copies, it's honestly not even that good, low key. It's good if you don't put a lot of effort into the game, but that's $7,000. Steam gets 30% of that. There's also net profit or net gross, right? So that means you get how much? Let's just say you get like 50% of it, or like 4,000. You get like $4,000.
Idea more for your own things, but for this, I was aware that I have an audience that kind of looks more at these animations and stuff, and I made it more based on that. So for the trailer, just some advice. If you really want to make some sort of cinematic trailer, something like I did, where it's a little tone setter kind of animation, I would recommend don't.
No, it's okay. Here, what it is. It's something like you had to spend $100 to put your game on Steam, right? And if you make $1,000, you would get the $100 back as credit, so you could publish another game on Steam. That's how it kind of goes.
Ever fade in with black or white or just like a solid color, you essentially want the first frame to be kind of an interesting screenshot if you can. So if you look at the first frames of these things, I always put the character's face and an emotion. They're doing something, they're looking at something, they're whatever. These are really easy wins if you can have the character doing something, being in frame, that's a lot more eye-catching.
I love the Cloud and Tifa one, that's for sure.
I think that was a major thing for my stuff. The trailer got 5,000 wish lists alone. It got me 3,000, and then it trickled down to 5,000, I think. Well, maybe, okay, that's not true. Some of the gameplay, I think, collectively probably got me 1,000. I did some character renders and stuff that got more attention as well. But the trailers did way better than I thought, and did the most. Because after this trailer, the reveal trailer, I had a release date trailer a month later that showed that the release was going to be another month after this trailer. And that also got about 2,000, 3,000 wish lists. It brought me up to the 7,000 wish lists that I was kind of hoping to get. Now, this is something that is specific to me. If you are an online artist, I would say utilize your strengths. This was my strength, for sure, just these animations. So I utilized it, and it worked well for me. Okay, so this is like a breakdown of what comes from where, and I'm just going to go over it quick with the more important ones. So most of it come from the discovery queue.
Yeah, he's an online artist, from what I see. I don't know about I was trying to look at his YouTube. His YouTube is like over 10,000. So I don't know where that puts him. All his videos vary, but his announcement trailer got like 36,000 views. So what does this mean though? Discovery queue total visits is 2/3. I don't think that's bad, but he could be telling me otherwise. 55,000 visits, direct navigations, about 5,000. Bot traffic? What? Bot? Someone gotta explain bot traffic to me. External websites.
Steam's algorithm. We have 66% coming from there, and most of my visits being from the Steam algorithm.
Oh, wow.
If you look in direct navigation, this is like bookmarks and other links and stuff. So that's pretty high. It's interesting, but it's quite the drop off from the 66%. It goes right down to 6%. That's very interesting. And you have homepage. Again, this is Steam's algorithm. A lot of impressions. Click-through rate's okay, 3,000 visits, pretty good. A lot more bot traffic than I thought. I wasn't aware that Steam had this much bot traffic. But then we get to an interesting thing, external websites. So this would be my marketing push. What I'm posting on.
You would think Because his Twitter and YouTube got pretty decent, you would think that's where he would get a lot of push, but no. Huh.
Whatever. I probably posted on several.
Machine learning is advancing, but businesses wonder if some machines can keep up.
Let's welcome our new coworker, Jeff.
Subreddits, and most come from the subreddits, even though I really wasn't pushing as much as I was on Twitter and Blue Sky, which is next, but still, it's only 500 visits. Like, that's ludicrously small. I suppose nothing ever did too big. Like, I think the post only got like two.
But what I think is that a lot of people could just be typing it like I did. I just typed it instead of pressing the link. If you type it, might not be considered like Twitter or whatnot.
2,000 or 1,000 tops likes, but it's pretty low, which is astonishing. I guess they count Google. Maybe that's just Google searching. YouTube is fairly small. I had the trailer with 30,000 views on it, but yeah, only 200. Like, that's crazy. So and then Blue Sky's really small, and then some of these are SteamDB. So these are no, never mind. Yeah, it's pretty small. It's really funny. Yeah,
I've been
it's
blocking
almost
it. Oopsie.
like it makes you feel bad about it. And then we got wish lists. 2,000 click-through rate's pretty high on the wish list. That's good. Yeah, and then I'll just scroll down here for people that, if you want to pause it, you can see, I guess, new on Steam page. We got a lot of impressions, but not a lot of visits from it, so people are just scrolling past it. That's totally fine. And yeah, if you want to look at these, there you go. Very cool. Now some stuff that I didn't do, which I think I got a lot of. Are you crazy? Why would you do that? Was I didn't enter any Next Fest stuff. I didn't enter any of those festivals, and I had no.
So I think apparently you get one guaranteed to be in Netflix, and that's it. So it's like, what do you really want to spend it on? I don't know. I still haven't published a game on Steam yet. I only done it on Itch because it's just the only free one that I know. I know there's GOG.com, but they're very selective, and so. And I tried doing it on Android. However, Android failed horribly. We really tried to put the Android push into it. Did not work. So yeah.
Demo. If you at all look at, current Steam meta, everyone's always like demo. I have a demo. I thought about releasing it, but when I talked to people that I showed the demo, they said probably don't, because this game is short. It's only about 2 to 4 hours long. It's possible I can make a demo later, but the game's small. It's supposed to be cheap. I think we're okay. Another thing.
So a demo would be good. However, with his game, if it's repetitive, what would be the difference? Does he have a story? Because it seems like his game doesn't even have a story. It might have a story, but not a long story if it's 2 to 4 hours. So that's why a demo might seem stupid to have, especially with his mixed ratings he got. The demo, like for Misa is apparently like a 3-hour game. I felt like the demo was already 1 hour. That means I only have 2 hours left with Misa. Some people want to see what happens in Misa. To me, I'm like, I already played a third of the game, so like, why would I want to keep going? But other people did not care, and it's what Misa got 7 million downloads, and it's a $15 game. That's bank.
I didn't outreach to people so much, things like journalists or whatever. I didn't really outreach to them. Any of the articles and stuff that were made were just people on their own making articles about the game or the announcement or whatever. I did not do any like devlogs, although I thought about it. I suppose this is kind of a devlog now, but that's a huge avenue that most people do for their quote-unquote marketing. But really my advice would just be like, focus on 1 or 2 things and do the best you can there. Another thing, if people are like, where do I start, where do I begin? I want to point them to Chris Zukowski. This man is by far the best information you can possibly get for Steam releases right now currently. As time moves forward, it's possible his information could alter. It false. I know Steam's really changing things. Next Fest this year was pretty different. That the old information about Next Fest doesn't really line up. So, obviously you got to take everything anyone says about marketing with a grain of salt because no one truly knows. But I would say just go follow this guy. Don't buy courses. Don't, get caught up in some weird, crappy publisher, info. Like, truly just listen to all this guy's stuff first. Chris Sikowski, howtomarketyourgame.com. The best information about all this stuff. I didn't specifically follow all of his advice, but there's always kept in mind. Okay, now, huge hedgehog in the room. So I worked on Sonic 3, and I strategically...
Sonic 3, what, like Sonic the Hedgehog 3, what is Sonic 3? Like the movie? Oh, the movie! There's a part in the movie. Is that what you're talking about? Like Sonic the Hedgehog movie? Is that what he meant? Also, when it comes to listening to marketing advice, because I'm gonna learn how to market myself. A lot of developers give a lot of different answers, so I don't know. That's why I'm watching these with you, and you guys will let me think what you think. But
put those videos and those announcements out very close to when I was going to reveal the game. So I hoped it would get some attention that then I could leapfrog off of and showcase my game. I think that worked. I don't think it was 100% of why this worked, but it's probably a fairly high number, 70% plus of why.
Also, what he could have done during his video is been like, oh, by the way, I'm in a game called Adventure 64 merchandise. That's something I learned, is that every time you're making a video, like for example, I could be like, I made Artist Choice, make sure to get it free on itch.io. You have to say it like almost every video, or like if someone brings it up, so that people could kind of be like, what is Arya's Choice and whatnot, and they could look it up. Will they look it up? I don't know. I don't have that much of following, but it's just something that you just kind of remind the audience yourself.
All this stuff has kind of worked out for me is just because I got that attention from a large group of people right before I announced the thing. I don't want to utilize this going forward. It kind of lined up. I was interested to see if it would work, and I think it did quite a bit. So if I get to make another one of these and I don't have the Sonic to piggyback off of, and it totally, falls flat, then we know that, yeah, that did all the legwork, and the game itself wasn't going to do much on its own.
What the turd?
Here's just some other stuff that was kind of funny. So one thing I wasn't expecting was the amount of translators reached out.
Oh my.
That was by far the most people that reached out, companies, whatever, was translation. Another one was voice actors. There was like a few voice actors that reached out. I know like making devs is a hard hustle, but I think voice acting is like an extra hard hustle because you maybe have to rely.
Okay, so this is what developers in the indie market says about voice acting, because it's such a plus, but it's very hard to do, right? Because that's one of the mistakes I did. I made a game and we had a bunch of voice actors, and now we had to force to finish the game without actually like trying to polish it, just so we could actually feel like the voice actors got to actually play a role. So with voice acting, there's two ways you could go about voice acting. Let people do an unofficial dub. Give them there's actually a few ways. You could do deferred, which means essentially you'll pay later, but that's not guaranteed. You could pay them then and there, but again, you don't know how much the game's gonna make. Or you could tell them, hey, I'm gonna post this. This could be free DLC to voice acting, so do that as you will. Or you could be like, hey, the game could be partial voice acting. So no. Partial voice acting is just as annoying. If you actually look at a Kickstarter, people will be like partial voice acting, and the game would go from 10,000 to 25,000. It's just as bad. So, it's only, and what is considered partial voice acting, like it's one of those things you have to really consider what do you want the voice acting to be? Um, because it's gonna be a horrible experience to actually go through and finish if you do not like to do the voice acting segments of it. So yes, that's my thoughts on voice acting.
On other people a little bit more. So that's tough, but it's like people
Oh,
reaching out to voice act some of these characters.
so translations. Translations. So machine translations, aka basically using like Google Translate and or AI. Some people will do it, some people will not do it. It's a touchy subject. Kind of how some people feel about other types of arts and so forth. Everyone has a certain way they do it, but the reason why people do unofficial patches is because they're not responsible for how that goes, or they don't have to keep working on it if it doesn't go well. Um, yes, visual novels, for example, has voice acting in certain parts, but like I said, even that takes a lot of work to have that partial voice acting. Like, there's a lot of work that goes into just the voice acting part, is what I'm trying to explain to you guys.
Something and no, there's no voice acting. And then I did have a few publishers. I had some independent publishers, which is a new thing that is interesting. It's where, people are independent, typically one or two people teams, and they will grab as many of these small indie devs as they can with the promise of essentially marketing stuff. So some of them have online influence, some have connections, but most, I think, just kind of have an email list and the same information that Chris Sikowski has. So I'm skeptical on these independent publishers. I've talked with one of them, and nice dude, but I'm very skeptical on the whole process, because typically the info that they were telling me on what they can bring to marketing is kind of just the same information that this Chris Sikowski guy has been saying. And some of the stuff is also some of the stuff that I can just do or have done on my own. The main thing that a lot of these publishers will present to you with is porting. So this is something that I think porting this game to the Switch would be great. So it's in my brain. If it does well, then maybe I can port it. So we'll see what that looks like. But if it's truly difficult, then the idea of having someone being able to port it for you is wonderful. If it's not that bad, then maybe that's a bit of something to look out for, because these guys are popping up now. I think it's not the new grift, but it's something. It's a better way to make money than making games, I think, is the idea.
That's crazy. But yeah, what do you guys think of this video? Solid advice, or you think ill advice? Let me know in the comments down below. And with that being said, y'all have a great one.